Chapter 10 Tax Day, announced the giant poster in the cafeteria on Wednesday. Beneath it sat Simon and Phil at a large desk. On the desk was a cardboard carton bearing a sign which read, Student Council Program Board Halloween Tax Levy for the continued operation of Interflux program. Please remit 10 cents per student, 1 thin dime. You know, Simon, Phil announced philosophically, I know I may seem kind of flaky at times, like a stowaway on the ship of life where everyone else pays the fare, but once in a while, I really tear off a good one. This idea is perfect. I mean, it's taxation, so we come off looking official, and it's only 1 lousy dime, so no one can complain. A tall, slim girl, a freshman specializing in theater, duly deposited 2 nickels into the carton. Thank you, said Phil briskly. Name, please? Lisa Fitzpatrick. Simon shifted through several sheets as though looking for her name. It was an act, of course, since Interflux had no school list, and the sheets were really pages out of a racing form which Phil had rescued from a garbage bin outside the staff lounge. Fitzpatrick, Simon announced, placing a tick mark beside Under the Rainbow, a 3-year-old filly running in the 5th race at Aqueduct that weekend. Thank you. Lisa looked at Simon with great admiration. I think it's wonderful what you're doing with Interflux. We try, said Simon modestly. When she had gone, he turned to Phil and whispered, Eat your heart out, Sam Stavernidis. At that particular moment, Sam was having lunch with Barbara, and Wendy had joined them, almost beside herself with anger. I can't believe it! On Halloween, practically every other school in the country does something special. Kids wear costumes to class, or there's a costume party, or a costume contest. They bob for apples, carve for pumpkins, have a good time. At Nassau Arts, we have a tax levy. She glared at Sam. Your sleazy friend and that jackass Phil Baldwin can't make ends meet on the original $6,700 they stole. They have to extort 10 stupid cents from every living soul in this place. I could kill somebody! Wendy doesn't like your tax levy, Sam reported as he replaced Phil at the tax booth. Simon shrugged. Wendy doesn't like my face either, he muttered. Sam looked into the box, which was piled high with coins. Wow, think we've got enough for that license yet? More than enough, said Phil smugly. In fact, when the final tally was taken, tax day had turned up $126.40, meaning that the tax had reached about 80% of the school. They had made the most money in the 2 main lunch periods, although there had also been a great resurgence of interest in paying near the end of the day when TC came to the booth on the instructions of Nathan Krutman to pay the movie mogul's dime. This didn't impress Sam very much, but Phil was practically in tears over the honor. Simon used the school phone to call the town and found in some embarrassment that the license was to cost only $60. Phil suggested that the surplus $66.40 be bet on Under the Rainbow across the board because he had a gut feeling about that horse. Simon and Sam shouted him down, however, and the Interflux surplus was finally placed in a shoebox on the top shelf of Simon's locker. This ultimately turned out to be a mistake, as Under the Rainbow ran first on Saturday, paying 19-1. The 3 stayed late after school, drawing up an official proposal for the Interflux worm shop, including Phil's statement of intent, which explained that in a warm year with a late frost, fishing could be greatly encouraged by the increased availability of November worms. Then the documents were sealed in a manila envelope, which was affixed to a small burlap sack containing $60 in dimes, nickels, and pennies. Simon, Phil, and Sam all rode over to the town hall to make the submission. Naturally, the employees on duty had trouble locating the license office, and by the time they found it, filed it under P for permit. It was 4:40 p.m., time to get ready for knocking off 15 minutes early. They told the program board to come back tomorrow, issued a receipt for their money and papers, and sent them on their way. Interflux's proposal and $60 were never seen again. The official story was that during the night, a goat gained access to the town offices and ate the entire submission, although rumors were circulating that it had not been a goat, but Mayor Van Doren's St. Bernard, which had been found with a mouthful of burlap at 9 in the next morning. Simon didn't see how either a goat or a St. Bernard could stomach $60 in small change, which gave rise to a third theory. Peter Ashley reported that his sister and her colleagues had gotten together for a massive nickel and dime mahjong tournament. The only thing that could be proven was that the money and papers had been there, as Simon had signed a receipt attesting to this. Thus, while Interflux had been poised and ready to shoot full of holes any proposal Antiflux might submit, the mysterious circumstances gave them nothing to aim at. The license was issued after a debate that was not long enough to get Simon worried, but just took long enough time to cause him to miss Karada's painting session. Over 1,000 students packed into the Nassau Arts Gym and cheered ecstatically as Simon informed them that they were now proprietors of a worm establishment. Enthusiasm was so high that by the time Simon arrived at school the next morning, the sign-up sheet for the first week of the Antiflux Worm Shop was completely filled, including the duty roster of worm diggers. He felt as touch left out that he, the shop's mastermind, had not managed to snag a single hour's duty. "The least you could have done was sign me up for some time," he said accusingly to Phil. Phil shrugged. "I was lucky to get some myself. You should have seen it. It was inspirational. This worm store is going to be awesome." That old familiar aching feeling gripped Simon from ankles to knees as he stood behind his desk in painting class, trying to act as though nothing was out of the ordinary and he was sitting in a chair like everyone else. Karada was revving up for a critique of Laura Dixon's reworked Mother and Child and he stood facing away from the class, his hand resting on the tray of the chalkboard as though he were gathering energy for what was to come. Then, almost immediately, he was beside the painting on the front easel, a benevolent expression on his face. "Ah, Miss Dixon's sister and her new baby. There is a slight improvement. Nice work. No longer do these people have no expressions on their faces." In a split second, his complexion was suffused with red. "They have expressions like the dummies in Macy's Christmas window!" Great tears ran from his wild eyes and rolled down the cheeks into his beard. "Miss Dixon, do you hate me so much that you would call this the fruit of my suggestions? How dare you! I refuse to believe that your sister and her new baby really look like this. If they do, then the great organizing principle of the universe is cruel indeed, and cruelest of all to Karada, who must go to the Vishnik Gallery and quite possibly commit suicide rather than face the ridicule of his peers because of your sister and her new baby." Sam nudged Simon. "Now that's a contender." "There is only one problem, Miss Dixon," Karada suddenly thundered, just when it looked as though an air of calm were about to descend. "At the rate you're going, by the time this picture has reached a state where it is not an embarrassment to Karada, your sister will be on Social Security and her new baby will be a stockbroker! Work faster!" "The deadline for this year's Vishnik entries is November 30th. Karada went on in a pleasant, informative tone. "Just a little reminder. 3 years ago, one of my students, an idiot, forgot to make his submission. Today, he works in a car wash in Terre Haute. Submissions must be made to the New York Vishnik Gallery like always. Last year, Mr. Lawrence mailed his entry to the Museum of Modern Art and only minutely escaped death by my hand when the Vishnik people turned out to be understanding. Not that it did me good, a creep from Albany, but that is another story. Kindly get your entries in to the right place on time." Next was assembly line, and Simon creaked up on stiff legs to place it on the front easel. When he saw the picture in the bright light of Karada's custom-designed classroom, it looked better to him than it had ever had before, and he flashed Sam a grin of cautious triumph as he awaited Karada's rave review. "What happened to tavern scene?" the artist asked, strangely unawed. "I decided to go on to something different." It was deja vu for Simon as Karada began to list every single nitpicky fault that he found in assembly line. Simon felt like bashing his own head against the blackboard as the idea slowly sank in that in the process of doing a picture that avoided Kurata's 45 minutes of floss from tavern scene, he had committed a new block of offenses that took the artist, yes, 45 minutes to explain. As he returned to his seat, Laura, Peter, and a few of the other students congratulated him on the terrific reception Kurata had accorded Assembly Line. He smiled in spite of himself. Maybe 45 minutes of lambasting was a great compliment from Emil Kurata, but there had to be a more positive reaction trapped somewhere in that 6'8" funny farm fugitive. Good stuff, whispered Sam as Simon settled himself into a comfortable stance. Are we going to work on that one or tavern scene for the Vishnik? Neither, Simon replied with determination. I've got another idea, and this one will hit that lunatic so hard he might even come out sane. Well, you certainly are turning out. Shut up, Mr. Stephanidis! Bellowed Kurata. I have something important to say to you. I refuse to discuss your new painting because it had something in it that I hate very much, and we all know what that is. We will discuss this in my office at 3:30. Later, while Simon sat massaging his leg cramps, he put Sam to a major question. What's with you and camels anyway? I don't know, they're great. I love painting them. Why? Well, look at today. A perfectly mild day for Kurata. Okay, he threw my chair out the window, had a few tantrums, but on the whole, things were calm. Then you came along with your camel and got him all riled up. I like that part. It's important for our student-teacher relationship. But you're the one who's always talking about other people's stupid, impulsive, harebrained ideas. What would you call this? Sam smiled. A blind spot? Look, Kurata and I understand each other perfectly. Then why did he order you to come to his office? We'll find out at 3:30. Probably just a little extra chewing out. Sure, TC and I are going to end up sitting through a few stories about people who don't do what Kurata tells them to and die as a direct result. We've heard most of those already. Wouldn't mind hearing them again. They're great stories. At that point, Phil came running up to his locker, his face glowing with excitement. Hey guys, guess what? You are looking at Nassau Arts' latest addition to the Innovative Arts Department. Sam's jaw dropped. You're kidding! That's the toughest specialty to get into in the whole school! How'd you pull it off? Phil bristled. I'll have you know, Sotrius, that was nothing to pull off, because I happen to show a great deal of potential for innovative arts. Besides, TC got 3 weeks out of this one. It was a major event. What's innovative arts? Asked Simon. Phil shrugged expansively. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I must understand it, though, because Mr. Koperdrick was very impressed with my interview. Basically, we innovative artists believe that the series of actions which create the work of art are more important than the work itself. That's garbage, scoffed Sam. Exactly why this thing's so perfect, Phil argued. Garibaldi was garbage. The Seasons was all a bunch of garbage. In photography, I took a stack of junk pictures and converted their tripods into garbage. But here I've got a whole department that accepts garbage. They even encourage it. That doesn't even make sense, said Simon. It's not supposed to. This is innovative arts. That's another rule. You're going to make a big joke out of one of the most respected departments at Nassau Arts, Sam accused. Why, thank you for your vote of confidence, Phil said sarcastically. Mr. Koperdrick thinks I've got what it takes, and he's one of the top innovative artists in the country. This could be really big for me, so quit dumping on it. In art history, the results of yesterday's pop quiz were in, and Simon had scored a pathetic 1 out of 5. He went up to speak to the teacher, but was told, no problem, there's nothing to worry about. Then he learned that classmate Bob Lawrence was repeating art history, having believed Mr. Monagle's reassurances last year. The day before the final, I had a 38% average. Monagle said, don't worry, so I didn't worry, and he flunked me. Simon later discovered that Mr. Monagle was so worried about soil erosion that the matter of a student passing or failing seemed overwhelmingly irrelevant. The math homework pool had now grown rather unwieldy, now standing at 11 members, a number which comprised more than a third of the class. Simon was sure that more math was being done divvying up the homework in 11ths rather than in doing the actual work itself, but Phil was irrepressible. he had divided the 11 up into Group A and Group B with him 5 each, with himself the odd man out. Theoretically, this was designed to leave him no homework at all, but Bill McIntosh always made sure that a few questions were thrown Phil's way. After school, Phil and Sam intended to make a concerted effort to locate and correct the intermittent defect, since tonight was round 2 in the Sam and Barbara epic. If he had car trouble tonight, Sam declared, he would push the wreck off a cliff and shoot himself. First, however, was his meeting with Karada, and Simon and Phil waited for him and his agent in front of Phil's locker. Simon was in a sour mood, having just found out that he had not been recruited for the Boston Tea Party, which Nathan was recreating off Fire Island. This was particularly disturbing because rumors were circulating that Omni was nearing completion. With only a few shoots remaining, it was beginning to look as though he, Simon Irving, father of Interflux, son of Interflux, program chairman, lab partner of Johnny Zoll, and all-around nice guy, would be the only student to have had absolutely no part in the video film. "Gee, it's too bad you didn't get picked," said Phil, examining his own summons from Nathan. "Ha!" Simon sneered. "You think I want to stand on a wooden boat in front of a dumb camera and throw bags of tea into the water? Forget it. That sure isn't my idea of a big weekend." About 5 minutes later, Sam and TC came down the hall, glassy-eyed and coughing. "What's the word?" Simon asked. "The word is I'm getting too old for this business," TC declared, ripping off his tie and undoing his shirt halfway to his waist. "Unbelievable!" said Sam in an awed whisper. "I've seen Karada do a lot of pretty strange things, but this was just beyond anything. He started out as sweet as pie, set us down in nice, comfortable chairs, and very calmly, he struck a match and set the drapes on fire. Then he said he wasn't going to let us go for a fire extinguisher until I promised to never bring another camel into his classroom." "Did you negotiate?" Phil asked. "No," said Phil. "We ran, but he blocked the doorway." "What happened?" Simon prompted. "What happened?" Sam repeated. "What do you think happened? I swore up and down that never again would a picture with a camel in it violate the walls of his sacred classroom." "We held a hurried consultation," TC amended. "On the grounds that the room was filling up with smoke, I recommended surrender, and my client agreed." "You're not kidding," said Sam feelingly. TC wasn't finished. "I looked into Karada's eyes, and I believe, as sure as I'm standing here, that he was prepared to burn down the office, himself, me, Sam, and the whole school if we had tried to be stubborn." "You can't call the bluff of a guy who's not bluffing," Sam put in breathlessly. "You read his book, Simon? I can almost picture the extra chapter added on to the end, explaining how Karada went up in smoke with one of his students trying to make a point." "What about me?" asked TC angrily. "Agents burn too, you know." Phil looked pale. "And I told this guy his cologne was tacky." "Don't worry about it, Phil," said Simon sarcastically. "There was never any real danger. You see, Sam and Karada understand each other perfectly." Sam shuddered. "We do now."